welcome po to my introductory video for the cerebellum. Okay, so proceeding. The cerebellum is the Latin word for the little brain, and ironically po kasi among the hindbrain, cerebellum is actually the largest structure. It is located within the posterior cranial fossa, inferior to the occipital lobe, and it is separated physically from the occipital lobe by the tentorium cerebelli. So this tentorium cerebelli is, if we would remember from previous reports and previous discussions, it is the meningeal infolding of dural tissue located siya superior to the cerebellum. So we could say the tentorium cerebelli is the superior relation of the cerebellum. Okay. Also, we could see here the horizontal fissure, which is one of the three prominent fissures that separates the cerebellum into superior and inferior portion, which later on I would tackle. Okay. So for other relations we could use for the description and the location of cerebellum, so the cerebellum is posterior to the fourth ventricle as well as the pons and the medulla oblongata. So that makes these three as the anterior relations of the cerebellum. When it comes naman to the function, the primary role of the cerebellum is for the coordination of movement. So note po na it is not responsible for the initiation of movement, but rather nga po sa coordination and precision and the timing of complex movements and behavior. So for example, is we are walking to uneven surfaces and playing sports and playing certain musical instruments. So by these examples, hindi po ba, if we ask someone, even a professional sports player, a varsity player, or a professional musician, or even in dance practices, di ba, there's a hard time explaining the sequence of movement that is supposed to be done. Yung pag-explain kung ano mga steps, di ba? But if we ask them to demonstrate it, it would be easier for them. So, and when they do demonstrate, they are letting the cerebellum take over and exhibit those specific movement sequence. So yun po. Okay, so back to the anatomy of the cerebellum, it is further divided into two hemispheres. So we have here the right and the left cerebellar hemisphere, and they are separated by the vermis. So the vermis, other than as a separatory structure, it receives sensory and motor input from the different sensory system of the spinal cord and other parts of the brain. So then, if once it received these inputs, it would integrate them into specific motor activity. So with that being said po, any damage, the right and left hemispheres, or in the cerebellum in general, it would result to the disorders of movement, balance, equilibrium, posture, and other various motor functions. Okay, so looking closely dito sa cerebellum, okay, let's zoom in. We could see that there is a similarity in appearance to cerebrum, which is the larger part of the brain. But it has a more condensed and finely layered type of appearance because of the volume. So the volume are 100 of small delicate folds, ito pong mga kulubot, that allows the cerebellum to contain more neurons than the rest of the structures of the brain. So ironically, kasi dahil mas marami nga pong neurons ang cerebellum kaysa sa other structures, other individual structures of the brain, ironically kasi, the cerebellum only takes up 10%, an approximate 10% of the brain's volume. So medyo maliit siya ang ino-occupy niya, but it has the largest number of neurons. Okay, so now itry natin i-dissect itong si vermis. So looking at this at a cross section, we can see that we can see this unique appearance which we call as arbor vitae. Now itong mukhang puno, yan, that is arbor vitae, and we describe it as the pattern of the white matter that is located deep in the gray matter in tight condensational folds. So itong mga gray matter yung nagsusurround sa mga mukhang branches, sa mga mukhang puno, those are the gray matter, and whereas yung ito nga arbor vitae is actually the white matter. Okay, so why are the gray matter folded? It would answer the question bakit maraming neurons sa cerebellum, because they are folded, they are condensedly folded so that they could accommodate millions of neurons within it. Okay. So again, to repeat again, yung mukhang punong ito, that is the arbor vitae, and it translates, or it literally means into vital tree of life. So in real life, we could denote it po kasi na without the cerebellum, the quality of life would not be very good because there would be no tawag dito, there would be no motor movements if without it, so it would not be very good. Okay, so back to the neurons po. All neural connections to and from the cerebellum travels to three paired connections which we call as the peduncles or cerebellar peduncles na nakalagay dito. It comes actually from the pons of the brain. So itong tatlo na ito, we have the superior, middle, and inferior. So we have the superior cerebellar peduncle that communicates with the cerebral cortex, the middle peduncle, which is the largest among the three, which communicates with the pons. And the inferior peduncle naman, it communicates with other brain centers, such as from the auditory pathways or back and forth from the spinal cord. So that concludes po my introductory video, and now we are proceeding to the discussion proper of the cerebellum. Thank you.